The 1980s were a wonderful time to grow up, bright, colorful, and unforgettable. In this video, we'll take a look at 20 things that defined that decade, memories you might not have thought about in years. From friendship pins in arcade halls to homemade mixtapes and so much more. Stick with us until the end, because along the way, you may just rediscover a memory that makes you smile all over again. For many of us, going to the mall in the 80s was like entering another world. Neon signs glowed above shop windows, music spilled out from record stores, and the food court buzzed with chatter. We browsed cassette racks, tried on the latest sneakers, and wandered with friends from store to store. With an orange Julius in one hand and arcade tokens in the other, the mall wasn't just about shopping. It was the true social hub of our lives. Friendship often showed up in the smallest ways during the 80s, like a safety pin strung with colorful beads. We clipped them to our shoelaces, letting every step sparkle with the bond of friendship. Kids traded them at school, made them by hand at the kitchen table, and wore them proudly as a sign of loyalty. They weren't store-bought trends, but little creations that said, "We're friends, and this one's from me to you." Simple, bright, and personal, those pins turned a pair of sneakers into something that felt special. Shows like Magnum P.I., The A-Team, and Airwolf gave us something to look forward to every week. We'd grab the TV guide, circle the time, and make sure the rabbit ears were aimed just right. When that theme song kicked in, the whole room quieted down, missed the broadcast, and your only hope was a rerun sometime down the line. Today, everything's on demand at the click of a button, but it doesn't carry that same excitement, that shared rush of waiting for the story to unfold.
Guess what? We're playing Pac-Man, the most popular game in the red-hot video games industry.
Nothing lit up our world quite like the arcade. The moment we walked in, the air was filled with the clink of quarters and the beeps of machines calling us over. Pac-Man and Donkey Kong kept us chasing high scores, hoping our initials would flash on the screen. Crowds gathered behind the best players, cheering them on. And even losing meant reaching back into our pockets for another coin. Looking back, some of us probably fed so many quarters into those cabinets, we could have bought a brand new car. But in that glowing playground, every coin felt worth it. There was something special about those little plastic rectangles. We'd sit by the radio, finger ready on the rec button, trying to catch a song without the DJ talking over the intro. Making a mixtape for a friend, or maybe a crush, was an act of pure creativity. Scribbled track lists, rewinding with a pencil, and the hiss of the tape made it all feel alive. In the end, it was just the way we shared the music we loved. The sweet, frothy taste of an orange Julius was a mall ritual all its own. We'd watch the blender whirl that bright orange mix, and for a moment it felt exotic, like a vacation in a cup. Sipping one while wandering the mall, browsing posters at Spencer's, or flipping through albums at the record store was pure 80s, simple, sweet, and unforgettable. A flavor that instantly takes us back to the center court of the mall. All it took was a bike to turn an ordinary day into an adventure. Some of us clipped baseball cards to the spokes with clothespins, just to get that motorbike sound rattling as we pedaled faster.
2, 1, and let it roll.
We cruised sidewalks, cut through empty lots, and dropped our bikes in a friend's yard without a second thought. No calls, no plans. If their bike was there, you knew they were home. And when the streetlights buzzed on, that was the signal the day's adventure had ended. Those rides gave us a freedom kids today can hardly imagine. There was no better ritual than Saturday morning cartoons. We'd grab a big bowl of sugary cereal, still in our pajamas, and plop down in front of the TV. The lineup was unforgettable. Schoolhouse Rock taught us while we sang along. The Smurfs filled our screens with color, and Super Friends made us believe heroes really could team up. For a few hours, the world outside didn't matter. Chores could wait. Parents gave us space, and those theme songs stuck in our heads all week long. It felt like our own holiday that came every weekend. Write in the comments which one was your favorite. When MTV hit the air in 1981, music changed overnight. Our favorite songs weren't just on the radio anymore. They had faces, colors and wild visual effects flashing across the TV. Suddenly, it wasn't only about the sound, it was about the look. We watched Madonna push boundaries, Michael Jackson moonwalk across the screen, and Prince turn every performance into pure theater. And MTV made it feel like the biggest stage in our own living rooms. A common ritual in the 80s was parents picking up scratch-off lottery tickets during a quick stop at the store. We'd beg for a penny or a dime and do the scratching ourselves, watching the silver dust sprinkle off as the numbers appeared. Most times, it was nothing. Sometimes, a free ticket, but the excitement never faded. And a lot of those used cards never got thrown away. They ended up tucked in kitchen drawers, little stacks of hope our parents just couldn't let go of. The Walkman changed the way we listened to music. For the first time, our favorite songs weren't tied to the car radio or the family stereo. They went wherever we did. A mixtape slipped inside foam headphones over our ears, and suddenly the world felt like background noise. Some of us pedaled bikes with Madonna or Springsteen in our ears. Others mowed the lawn to Def Leppard, and plenty just used it to drown out noisy brothers and sisters. It wasn't just portable. It made music feel like it belonged to us alone. Nothing said back to school in the 80s, quite like a brand new Trapper Keeper. That rip of the Velcro flap, the shiny folders inside, and those wild covers that made homework feel just a little cooler. Some kids showed up with a bright red Lamborghini Countach on the front. Others carried pastel rainbows, hearts, or puffy white clouds. It wasn't just a binder, it was a statement. Having the right Trapper Keeper meant you were ready for the year, and maybe just a little bit jealous of the kid sitting next to you. All the sugar and twice the caffeine. That slogan alone made Jolt Cola unforgettable in the 80s. The black and red can stood out in the cooler, daring you to grab it. One sip was sweet, strong, and just a little rebellious. Whether it was powering a late-night Nintendo marathon or helping us stay awake through a movie double feature, Jolt wasn't just soda. It was pure adrenaline in a can. Boomboxes were more than radios. They were rolling parties. We hauled those big machines on our shoulders, blasting tapes and radio shows for everyone to hear. They were heavy enough on their own, but what really added the weight were the giant batteries packed inside. And those things weren't cheap. We fed them dollar after dollar just to keep the music going. Still, every street corner, park, or backyard felt alive once the play button clicked. The boombox gave the 80s its soundtrack, even if it emptied our pockets along the way. In the 80s, hair had one rule: the bigger, the better. For girls, that meant teasing bangs sky high, perms sprayed stiff with Aquanet, and clouds of hairspray in every bathroom. For guys, it was long, wild rocker hair, the kind you saw on Bon Jovi or Motley Crue. Whether it was prom night or a concert, big hair made sure nobody blended into the crowd. These weren't ordinary books. They put us in charge of the story. One page sent us exploring a cave, the next might drop us straight into disaster. If we didn't like the ending, plenty of us quietly flipped back a few pages and tried again, pretending it never happened. The covers were colorful, the choices endless, and every read felt different. Long before video games gave us multiple lives, choose your own adventure books. Let kids steer the plot, one risky decision at a time. They looked simple enough, a straight strip of metal wrapped in bright fabric. But the second you smacked it against your wrist, it curled tight, and suddenly you had the coolest accessory in class. Neon colors, animal prints, glitter patterns. Everyone wanted a stack of them. We traded, collected, and snapped them again and again just for the sound.
Bubble tape! It's 6 feet of bubble gum for you, not them!
That slogan was everywhere, and the little round container made it feel like we were carrying treasure in our pockets. We'd pull out long pink strips, measuring just how much we could stuff in at once, and who could forget the texture of those first few chews? Soft, sweet, almost too much to handle, but impossible to resist. Bright, see-through, and candy-colored, jelly shoes sparkled in the sun and quickly became a must-have for girls in the 80s. They looked perfect with summer outfits, and every girl seemed to want a pair. But anyone who wore them remembers the downside: hot feet, painful blisters, and that sticky feeling after hours of walking. Comfort didn't matter though. Jellies were about style, and in the 80s, that was more than enough. Leg warmers weren't born in fashion. They came from aerobic studios. Thanks to Jane Fonda workout tapes and the fitness craze, those colorful knit tubes suddenly jumped from the gym floor to the school hallway. Girls wore them over leggings, with skirts, or even pulled right over jeans, adding a splash of neon to every outfit. They didn't really keep you warm, and half the time they slipped down, but that didn't matter. In the 80s, leg warmers were less about function and more about flair, and they turned everyday outfits into something unforgettable. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. If this brought back a smile, share it with a friend you've stayed in touch with since those days. It might bring back memories for them as well. And leave me a comment about what you miss the most. I'd really like to hear your stories.